Okay, so we are now on problem number 25. It's TEACS 8.7a. Let's see what it says. It says ice cream and more sells ice cream in containers shaped like a cone or cylinder. The dimensions of each container are shown in the drawing. Okay. Which statement about the volumes of the cone and the cylinder is true? Okay, so what it wants me to do, it wants me to find which statement about each figure is true. So to do this, guys, I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm solving for the volume of each prism, okay? So I have a cone and I have a cylinder. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and use my formula for a cylinder, which is V equals pi times the radius squared times the height, and solve for the cylinder first, and then use my formula for a cone, which is the same except it has a 1/3 because it is 1/3 the volume of a cylinder, pi times radius squared times height, to solve for the volume of the cone. So I'll be using both formulas, but not at the same time. So let's work with the cylinder first, okay? As we can see, we need a radius and a height. Based on the picture of my cylinder, I have a diameter. And the reason I know I have a diameter is because this dotted line goes all the way across. What I want is only half of that diameter. So in order to do so, I'm going to use my calculator to divide 8 divided by 2. This will give me an answer of 4, which is my radius, okay? So I know that the radius of my cylinder is 4, okay? The next thing I'm gonna look for is the height of my cylinder, which is pretty easy to see, guys. I'm going up and down in this case. The height of my cylinder is 3, so I'm gonna plug in a 3. Okay, all I really have to do is plug this in the way I see it. So let's go ahead and let's get that done. So I'm gonna have pi, here's my pi symbol, times the radius square, which in this case was 4, square. I'm gonna show you a quick shortcut. There you go, for squares. And I'm gonna push over on my touchpad so I'm not in the exponent. I want my cursor to be straight up and down and not somewhere up here in the air, okay? So then I'm gonna plug in my height, which is 3, and I'm gonna push enter. I get 150.796, okay? So what that's telling me is that the volume of my cylinder equals 150.796, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move this over next to my cylinder so I know that that's the volume for that shape, okay? So now that I've finished the volume of my cylinder, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna solve for the volume of my cone, okay? This time, the test was kind enough to give me a radius right out the gate, okay? So I have a radius of 3 and a height of 6. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you how to set this up. I know that my radius of my cone was 3. So I'm gonna plug in a 3 into my radius this time. Now let me separate this. It kind of looks a little funky, okay? Now it looks better. And I'm gonna go back and find my height. And again, guys, it's up and down. My height is 6. So all I have to do this time is simply plug it in, except I have to add a 1/3 in front of the pi symbol. So what I'm gonna do is this. I'm gonna click on the money button. I'm gonna click on my fraction bar, and I'm gonna put a 1/3, okay? I know the next thing that comes is my pi times the radius, and I'm gonna put that in parentheses, which was 3 square, and I'm gonna push over so that way I know that I'm completely out of the exponent. And then I'm gonna multiply this by the height, which was 6. And simply push enter. And I'm with a value of 56.5487. So what I'm gonna do is now I'm gonna write that value V equals 56.5487. And I'm going to put it with my cone. So I know that that's the number for my cone. Okay, that's the volume for my cone. So with that being said, let's start reading these answer choices and see if we can't come to some kind of conclusion. Okay, so I know that the volume of the cone is about 94.25 cubic inches greater than the volume of the cylinder. Okay, well, how do I determine what's greater than or not greater than? Okay, well, I'm going to do that by subtracting. I need to see how much more of it is something, right? So I'm going to say that the volume of the cone is not greater than the volume of the cylinder. There's no way that this is smaller than that. If I subtracted this, it wouldn't make sense, okay? Because there's no way that the volume of the cone, which is 56.5, is bigger than the volume of the cylinder, which is 150.7. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cross off letter A. Okay, the next thing I'm gonna look at is letter B. It says the volume of the cone is about 56.55 cubic inches greater than the volume of the cylinder. Guys, again, that wouldn't make sense. How is this volume going to be bigger than this volume? That is not possible. So letter B is incorrect. Letter C says the volume of the cone is about 150.8 cubic inches less than the volume of the cylinder. Okay. Now, just by looking at it, okay, I know that the volume of my cylinder is 150 already. So how can the volume of the cone be 150 cubic inches less than the volume of the cylinder? There's no way. So let me show you what I mean. On your calculator, if you subtract 150, and I'm gonna round it to 150.8 minus 56.5, which is the volume of the cone, push enter, I'm left with a 94.3. That's how much more the volume of the cylinder is than the cone. There's no way that letter C is correct. Now, based on the step I just did, which was subtracting the volumes of the cylinder and the cone, I get the answer 94.3. That's how much more liquid I can put in this cylinder. Okay, in this case it says ice cream, so that's how much more I can put in there. Okay, so it says that the volume of the cone is about 94.25 cubic inches less than the volume of the cylinder. This is true. I just proved it to you right here. Okay, my answer is D. Okay, so thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Spider-Man, tell him. Peace out.